Anchovy fishing is an important activity in the fisheries industry in many coastal areas. Here are some common methods for catching anchovies. A trawl is a large net that is pulled across the surface or seabed to catch fish. There are two main types: bottom trawls and column trawls. A fishing boat pulls a net through the water where the anchovies live. Once the net is full of fish, the boat pulls it up. A purse seine is a net that can be pulled around a specific area to enclose the fish. The net is lowered and encircles the anchovies. The net is then pulled back and the fish are trapped in the net. A cast net is a net that is suspended vertically in the water so that fish can swim into it and become entangled. The net is lowered and the fish swim in. After a period of time, the net is pulled up to collect the fish. A net is a smaller net, often used in shallow or near-shore waters. The fisherman throws the net into the water and pulls it up to collect the anchovies. This method is suitable for shallow waters. Anchovies are attracted to light. Lights are lit on the boat to attract the anchovies to come close. Then, nets or other tools are used to catch the fish. Fishing must comply with environmental protection and aquatic resources regulations to avoid overexploitation and damage to the marine ecosystem. Use protective equipment and comply with safety rules at sea to ensure the safety of the fishermen. Each method has its own advantages and disadvantages, and the choice of method often depends on local conditions and the purpose of fishing. Anchovy fishing is an important activity in the fishing industry, with a variety of methods used to optimize efficiency. One of the most common methods is trawling, where a fishing vessel drags a large net through the water to collect the fish. Trawling can be used on both the surface and the seabed, depending on where the anchovies are. Purse netting is also effective, where a net is dropped to encircle the school of fish, then pulled up to collect the fish. Alternatively, drop nets are suspended vertically in the water, allowing fish to swim into and become entangled, while nets are often used in shallow or near-shore areas. Another method is lamp fishing, where the light from a lamp attracts the anchovies to come closer for easy harvesting. Regardless of the method used, anchovy fishing must be carried out in a sustainable manner and in compliance with environmental protection regulations to ensure the long-term development of this resource. Anchovy fishing is a traditional and important activity in the fisheries industry, especially in coastal areas, where anchovies play an essential role in the local ecosystem and economy. Anchovies, due to their small size and habit of living in large schools, require sophisticated and efficient fishing techniques for optimal harvest. Anchovy fishing methods can be divided into several categories, including trawling, purse seining, drop netting, netting and lamp fishing, each with its own advantages and limitations, depending on the geographical conditions and intended use. Trawling is one of the most common methods of anchovy fishing, especially in deep and open waters. This method uses a large net pulled across the surface or seabed by one or more fishing vessels. Trawls can be divided into two main types: bottom trawls and water column trawls. Bottom trawls are dragged along the seabed, suitable for catching bottom-dwelling fish, while water column trawls operate in the upper and middle layers of the water. Trawlers can be equipped with automatic control systems and other support equipment to ensure efficient fishing and minimize impact on the marine environment. Purse nets are a very effective method of fishing for large schools of fish, including anchovies. The purse seine is lowered into the water and forms a circle around the area where the anchovies are. Once the net has surrounded the school, the seine lines are pulled up, trapping the fish inside. This method allows for the capture of large numbers of fish at once and is often used on large vessels equipped with positioning systems and other support tools. However, the use of purse seines needs to be carefully considered to avoid negative impacts on other fish species and marine ecosystems. The cast net is another popular method of catching anchovies. This type of net is suspended vertically in the water, with mesh sizes large enough for fish to swim into but not escape. Cast nets can be set at various depths and are often used in coastal or shallow waters. This method has the advantage of being inexpensive and easy to deploy, but requires regular inspection and removal to avoid entanglement and harm to other marine life. The cast net is a simple but effective tool for catching anchovies, especially in shallow or coastal waters. The cast net is made from mesh and is usually thrown out to surround the fish. Once the net falls into the water and surrounds the fish, the fisherman pulls the line to collect the net. This method is often used by small-scale fishermen or in recreational fishing activities. The net requires skill and experience to cast accurately and retrieve the net effectively. The lamp fishing method is based on the behavior of anchovies, which are attracted to light. In this method, bright lights are used to attract the anchovies to come closer. Once the anchovies gather around the light source, fishermen can use nets or other tools to catch the fish. This method is very effective in concentrating anchovies in a small area. However, the brightness and position of the lights need to be adjusted to optimize results and avoid disturbing other marine life. Regardless of the method used, anchovy fishing must consider environmental protection and sustainability. Overfishing can lead to a decline in anchovy populations and negatively affect the marine ecosystem. Therefore, environmental protection regulations, such as regulations on net size, seasons and catch quantities, must be strictly followed. Fishermen and the seafood industry also need to work together to research and develop sustainable fishing methods to protect marine resources for future generations. The white pomfret, scientifically known as Pampas argenteus, is one of the most valuable fish species in the aquaculture industry, especially in tropical and subtropical regions. They are not only famous for their delicious meat but also play an important role in the economy of many coastal communities. Catching white pomfret requires a deep understanding of their biology, as well as effective and sustainable fishing methods. White pomfret is a marine fish belonging to the family Pampodidae, commonly found in coastal waters and near coral reefs. They have a flat body, bright silver color and high dorsal fin, making them easy to identify and distinguish from other fish species. White pomfret usually lives in water areas with temperatures ranging from 25 to 30 degrees Celsius and high salinity, often gathering in large schools, especially during the breeding season. There are many methods of catching white pomfret, each with its own advantages and disadvantages, and the choice of appropriate method depends on the geographical conditions and the goals of the fisherman. Trawling is a common method of catching white pomfret, especially in deep and wide seas. Fishing boats use large trawls to sweep through the waters where white pomfret gathers. There are two main types of trawls, bottom trawls and water column trawls. Bottom trawls are used to harvest fish near the seabed, while water column trawls operate in the upper water layers. This method allows large quantities of fish to be caught, but attention must also be paid to environmental protection to avoid overfishing. Purse trawls are a very effective method of catching white pomfret, especially when the fish gather in large schools. The net is dropped into the water to surround the school of fish, then the seines are pulled back, trapping the fish inside. This method allows for the harvesting of large numbers of fish in a short time, but requires high technical requirements and must avoid affecting other fish species as well as the marine ecosystem. The cast net is another popular method, often used in coastal waters. The cast net is suspended vertically in the water, with a mesh size suitable for the white pompano to swim into but cannot escape. This method has the advantage of being easy to deploy and inexpensive, but requires regular inspection and cleaning to avoid the net getting stuck or causing harm to other marine life. The white pompano fishing method is also quite popular, especially in recreational or sport fishing activities. Using a fishing rod and line with attractive bait, fishermen can catch white pompano, especially when the fish are feeding near the surface. This method requires skill and patience, and can have a lower negative impact on the marine environment than other fishing methods. White pompano tend to be attracted to light, so the lamp fishing method is very effective. Lights are lit on boats or at fishing points to attract fish to come closer. Once the fish have gathered around the light source, fishermen can use nets or other equipment to harvest them. This method is often used at night and can be combined with other methods to increase efficiency. White pompano fishing, like any other fishing activity, needs to be done sustainably to protect marine resources and maintain the balance of the ecosystem. Environmental issues include overfishing. Overfishing of white pompano can lead to a decline in fish populations and affect the marine ecosystem. Regulations on net size, catch and seasonality should be followed to ensure the sustainability of this resource. Impact on other species. Fishing methods such as trawls and purse seines can have adverse impacts on other fish species and marine ecosystems. Measures should be taken to minimize impacts, such as using nets with appropriate mesh sizes and avoiding sensitive areas, pollution and waste. The use of fishing gear should be managed to minimize pollution and plastic waste in the ocean. Regulations on the disposal and recycling of old fishing gear should be strictly enforced. White pompano fishing is an important and valuable activity in the fisheries sector, but also requires sustainable management to protect the resource and the marine environment. Adopting efficient and environmentally friendly fishing methods, along with compliance with resource conservation regulations, will help sustain the long-term development of the white pompano fishery and protect the marine ecosystem for future generations. Is a popular sea fish because of its delicious, sweet meat and high nutritional value. White pomfret is often prepared in many different ways, from traditional dishes to modern recipes, to highlight its natural flavor. Below is a detailed guide on how to prepare white pomfret, including popular cooking methods and some specific recipes so you can enrich your menu. Before cooking, preparing white pomfret is very important to ensure the dish has the best flavor. Here are the basic preparation steps. Choose fresh white pomfret, with bright colors and no signs of decomposition. The fish should have a fresh scent of the sea, without a foul smell. Wash the fish under cold water to remove dirt and residue. If you buy a whole fish, it is necessary to clean the belly of the fish, remove the intestines and gills. Then, cut off the head and tail if necessary. Fish cutting. Fish can be cut into pieces or fillets depending on the cooking method and personal preference. Filleting makes the dish more delicate and easier to prepare. Grilling white pomfret is a simple cooking method but brings delicious flavor. White pomfret is a great ingredient with many rich cooking methods, from grilling, frying, steaming to making soup and making sushi. Each cooking method brings different culinary experiences, helping you to maximize the flavor and quality of the fish. By carefully preparing and processing white pomfret, you can create. Buying anchovies is easy. Most coastal or river tackle shops in Colorado have a large stock of bait. It is best to buy from a bait shop that has a large stock. This way you will have a fresher supply. Old bait will turn yellow or look frozen with frost in the bag. Look through a few bags and make sure you are getting the cleanest, freshest bait available. Bait storage is key to consistently being successful at anchovy fishing. Tiny baitfish are very fragile. Once thawed, they quickly lose their firmness and strength. When warmed, they will turn to mush and become almost impossible to hold on the hook, both when casting and when the fish jerks him off. The goal is to keep the anchovies as close to frozen as possible. You can thread the hook through a harder piece of frozen bait and it will stay on the hook when you cast it. and it will hold on the hook for a few minutes in the water before softening. The best way to store frozen anchovies is in a dedicated bait container. A small 6-pack is ideal for one bag. You don't want to keep your bait with other food and drinks because opening the container constantly will defrost the bait. Use blue ice cubes to surround the bait in the container. This way, the bait won't get soaked with ice. Only open the container when needed and don't leave the lid open. If you follow this procedure, you can keep your bait hard throughout a fishing session. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes a big difference. By fishing hard bait, you'll make longer casts. Your bait will stay in the feeder longer, and you'll spend less time retrieving and rebaiting. When fishing from shore, the longer you can keep your bait in the feeding area, the better your chances of catching a fish. Now that we have our bait, how do we fish? Of course, the target species will dictate the bait size. Bait can be fished whole for larger species or sharks. Many flounder anglers will use a whole fish in the hopes of landing larger fish. Calico perch, sand perch, white grouper, striped perch, and sharks will also be fished whole. The bait is usually hooked just behind the head or through the tail. Either way, you have to go around the back to ensure the bait doesn't break off the hook when you cast. Some people hook the whole bait through the tip of the nose. When the fish are biting lightly, a snag can improve your catch rate. Another reason to fish a hole is when trash fish are stealing your smaller presentation. A large bait will scare off the smaller fish. The second length, and probably the most used size for versatility, is half a fish. You'll be targeting the same species as with a whole piece, with the addition of a few grouper, cabezon, or sargo. Just cut the fish in half with a sharp bait knife because a dull knife will crush the bait, head and tail, fish alike. Some people like tails, others like heads. It all depends on your experience. I might like a little more tail when fishing for flounder, but that's it. The key to hooking a half hook is to hook the small spine of the anchovy. With a hard, frozen bait, push the hook in and twist it around the spine. This is the strongest part of the bait and will hold the hook best. Once the bait is hooked, give the hook a little tug. If it starts to tear, you've missed the spine. The next size up would be a quarter hook bait. This smaller bait is great for heavier fish like yellow grouper, spotted grouper, sargo, shoal grouper, calico bass, sand bass, spotted bass or striped perch. Again, the key when hooking is to first have a hook size that is appropriate for the size of bait you are using and the species you are targeting. Second, make sure the hook goes around the back. This is especially important with the smaller pieces. Again, it is important to keep the bait frozen to ensure a good grip, as a soft piece here will easily rip off the hook. The final size is also the smallest. These pieces are ideal for targeting dwarf fish such as grouper, mackerel, salima, rubberfish, 7-11s and many other perch species. Because of the small hook size, make sure you at least penetrate the skin. This will hold up in most cases. It is important to know how to target these species as many make great live bait for more desirable inshore fish. Small pieces also work well with sabiki. When the bait fish isn't biting cleanly, adding a small piece of anchovy will greatly increase your chances of getting a bite, but again, make sure you cut through the skin. This is an important piece of the puzzle. When fishing for anchovies, you want to make a smoother cast. Not too hard or too jerky, a nice even cast. Think of it like casting anchovies on a party boat. Leaving a length of line the length of a fishing rod, start vertically and dip the rod back and swing the bait up, around and over the top in a smooth, medium speed motion. At the top, let the line drop so you have a nice boat to cast to. Don't be too fast or jerky or you will lose your bait. Watch your cast carefully to make sure the bait stays on the hook until it hits the water. Over time, you will develop a motion that will maximize your distance without losing your bait. There are many ways to fish for anchovies. The specific rigs are determined by the species and habitat being fished. Arguably the most popular rig is the sliding egg sinker. It is versatile and highly effective. The drop-in or reverse drop-in rig is the second most popular. Hook design also depends on the species and habitat. Bait holding hooks are the most commonly used. Small barbs hold the bait and long shank is suitable for most species. Mosquito hooks are suitable for smaller chunks of fish. Regardless of which hook you choose, make sure they are sharp. If you are an inshore fisherman, skip the frozen anchovies at your own risk. This is one of the best baits to fish in the coastal waters of Southern California. It is easy to find, easy to store, and versatile in presentation. But most importantly, frozen anchovies are an extremely effective bait that can be used to catch a variety of fish in a variety of habitats and under a variety of conditions. In recent years, the oceans have been warming significantly. Many scientists believe that warmer water is a more favorable environment for smaller fish than larger fish, because warmer water holds less oxygen and larger fish need more oxygen to survive. This is predicted to lead to smaller fish in the ocean over time. But are fish shrinking or are small fish becoming more common? Anchovies are one of the few marine fish consumed in large quantities by humans. They are familiar as pizza toppings or salad dressing ingredients, but they are also ground up for livestock and pet food. Anchovies are easy to catch because they gather in large schools in predictable places. One such place is the Humboldt Current, an ocean current off the coast of Chile and Peru that carries cold water from Antarctica toward the equator. The Humboldt Current alternates between warm and cool based on global weather patterns. As the Humboldt Current warms, fishermen catch fewer anchovies, which gives scientists an idea of what might happen if the current stays that way. There is less oxygen and food for the anchovies in warmer waters, so the fish move to deeper, colder waters that fishermen can't reach. Fish that have adapted to low oxygen levels, such as gobies, are more common in warmer waters. Gobies are harder to catch than anchovies because they are smaller and yield less meat per fish. An international team of researchers led by Renato Salvatecchi wanted to know if anchovies got smaller as the ocean warmed. They knew that about 120,000 years ago, the Humboldt Current was warmer than it is today. They took samples from sediment at the bottom of the Humboldt Current at depths that may contain the remains of animals that lived 120,000 years ago. They then sifted through the samples, looking for ancient fish vertebrae among the bones and shells. They measured the width of each vertebrae and classified them as goby, anchovy, lanternfish, and other species. To come up with an accurate model of the ocean, the researchers needed both current and past ocean temperatures. To get past temperatures, they tested for specific molecules left behind by certain algae that remain unbroken for thousands of years, even long after the algae cells have decomposed. As the water warms, algae form dense clusters of cells called blooms, which make these molecules more abundant. Next, the scientists used the algae-based temperature estimates to figure out which fish bones came from warmer and colder periods. They found that in the warm period, about 60% of the samples were goby vertebrae, and very few were anchovy vertebrae. However, today, that region is now dominated by anchovies. When scientists combined all the vertebrae from all the fish species together, the average size of the ancient fish vertebrae was smaller than that of modern ones. However, the anchovy bones they found were closer to the size of modern anchovies. The smaller average size in the past was due to more vertebrae from smaller fish, which brought the average size down. This finding supports the theory that smaller fish were more common as the ocean warmed, rather than the idea that fish would shrink as the water got warmer.